Hello, everyone. We are live today on Friday, April 24th, 2026, and this is episode number 171. You can see it up on the screen there. You can find related links from the episode on the episode page at augforums.com/episode 171. And I had Ann's picture there on the thumbnail, but we've also got Tyson joining us to talk about this. You guys are an Acumatica customer, and you did some cool thing with artificial intelligence and sales orders in Acumatica. Sounded super interesting, and so thank you for being willing to come on and talk about it today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
I was thinking, maybe we could just tell us. I think Ann, you're kind of like give me your roles first, and then we'll talk about it.
I am Chief Technology Officer for Showdown Displays. Joined them about a year ago.
And I'm the senior software engineer. Been with Showdown for about 2 years.
Love that we've got a developer on here. I love asking technical questions. But before we dive into the details, maybe Ann, you could give us an overview on Showdown in general. What does Showdown Displays do?
So Showdown Displays, we're a large format printer, and so printing things like banners, flags, signs. Been in business. We're the back end for other companies, and so we're probably not a name that people know, but have quite a bit of business and quite a bit of reputation in the promotions market. So
what does back end for other businesses mean?
So because we do large format, we'll do tents and banners. So Shutterfly will send us, if you're doing a large tent with them, we'll be the ones who will actually do that.
Okay. So you've got the chops to actually make the stuff, and then there's other companies that are kind of the marketing engine on the front end of it.
Yeah, we're the manufacturer.
Okay. Sure. Oh, interesting. Cool. And then you don't have to give these numbers if you don't feel it's something you guys share publicly, but I was getting a ballpark idea of how big companies are, like ballpark annual revenue, number of employees. You think you'll share that?
400 to 500 employees, maybe 200 million in revenue.
4,500 employees?
No, 400 to 500.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sorry. That came out too fast.
That would have been super interesting. So still good size. That's probably on the upper end of the size of Acumatica customers. Okay. But in my opinion, that's when you really start to get the bang for your buck out of Acumatica, when you're a company that can really invest in building out stuff on the platform and getting that return on investment. Have you found that to be the case?
Yeah, we've been on Acumatica since summer of 2024. And here in January, we just upgraded to the most current release, 25R2. So definitely trying to use it and see how much we can exploit its capabilities and keep going with it.
And with having Tyson, you're full-time at Showdown Displays, right?
Yeah.
So having the in-house developer chops, are you building stuff in the framework in the with customization projects, things like that?
No, we have a third party that we deal with that does the customizations on Acumatica.
Okay. Which is probably mostly the norm. But is it kind of a direction that you guys go in, and that you're looking to kind of bring more of those business processes as time goes on more and more into the Acumatica platform? Or do you have kind of part of why I'm asking this is we're going to talk about, you sort of went outside of the framework to do the sales order automation. What's your philosophy in general as far as when you have a business problem? Do you lean towards trying to bring it into Acumatica, or you have something outside, or kind of a mix of both, or what do you do there?
I would say for us, it's a mix of both. Some, it's just easier to have our partner do them. We can get there faster. Others, in this case, we were kind of piloting and experimenting, and it just made more sense for us to write a GI and get the information out, deal with it, and then send it back in. So I think going forward, it'll be a balance.
How about from the user experience side? Do you try to have Acumatica be the main user interface in the business, or do you also have some other applications that you you sort of tie, like, do you have your own a separate CRM, for example, where you then tie things together?
Yeah, we do. So to your example, we use Salesforce, so we tie that in a little bit. So for a CRM perspective, and then particularly on our manufacturing floor, it's a mix. So Acumatica follows the orders all the way through the manufacturing, but at the same time, we have specific software for different printers, different ways to handle the graphics.
Makes sense. Yeah. So you're good at selecting like the best tool for the problem instead of just trying to shoehorn everything into one tool.
Yep. But still with Acumatica, kind of the core that follows it end to end.
Cool. Awesome. So then on this sales order automation piece, maybe talk to me about like, what were you doing before you tried any kind of automation? Like what brought it up to the level of, hey, this is something IT needs to try to improve?
So one of the things when I joined, I did some shadowing, and one of the places I shadowed was our front end order management team. And we have a large manual group of front end order. We call them order management. Essentially, with every order we get a purchase order and a graphics file. And if they come in via email, they come in and they create a case in Acumatica. And so then what I watched was this team open the cases in Acumatica, grab the PO, and take all the information off the PO and create a sales order by hand on the keyboard. So always asking the question of what can we do with AI? We can get into the story, but on a Friday afternoon, we got together and said, can we do something here with a prompt? Let's just try it. We didn't really even tell the business to start. We just thought we'd experiment and play.
Love that. Oh, tell me more about that story, because I feel like that a big part of where we're at right now with AI is, where do I start, right? And there's like this, it's kind of a mental barrier. And I don't know if you actually, did you say the word fun? What I heard was fun. Have fun with it. I feel like that's a real key to getting started. You also said a Friday afternoon. That's super interesting to me, because you're sort of dipping into the weekend part of your brain and not the work part of your brain in order to get started. Tell me more about that.
Well, I can keep telling the story, or we can go to use the slides to tell a story too, if you want. But
the story's in the slides. Oh,
yes.
Okay. Well, yeah, let's do that then. Okay, hold on. So I guess we will hit slides before I pester Tyson with a bunch of technical questions. Let's see.
Yeah.
Get this queued up here. There we go. All right. Yeah. I'll be your slide turner. So let me know when to turn.
Okay. You can go to the first one, because how I tend to tell this story, which is a fun story to tell. On the first slide, there's 3 characters in the story. Oh, yeah. Okay. The first one is a typical IT department, the team, very efficient at keeping the systems going, maybe a little removed from the daily business, viewed as fixers when there's problems. We get all these orders every day. They do not come on a standard template, even though we do get APIs from some of our main customers into Acumatica for orders, but a lot come on emails from other people's systems. Absolutely no templates, no consistency. And then the third player in here is Showdown actually has a tenant called Legendary Customer Experience. We will take whatever you send. We're not going to head down and create a portal where you need to send us a PO in a certain format. So based on that, we ended up with this large order management team, but we can go on. So then
normally come in, like, I love that, like being easy to work with and not forcing people into this super boxy portal thing that's great for you, but not great for them. I'm curious, what do you find people gravitate towards when you just open it up to being easy to work with? Is it email the best way, or do they like text message, or what?
So larger customers will come in through our public API and hook up, because that's easy for them too. Okay. In the promotions market, we have a lot of brokers, and a lot of the brokers' systems, when they go in and maybe they're working on an event, and we'll do some pieces in their event, some products, maybe they'll do cups and apparel. We don't do those. And so they'll take one graphic and they'll want to talk to 3 or 4 suppliers. And most of those systems today send out emails to all those suppliers.
Makes sense. Yeah, events are so messy, right? Email seems like a good way to sort of glue things together without too much structure. I like that.
But then those emails are however they designed their template.
And it does come in a mix. Like, I'm curious, is it more than half or less than half where it's a PDF attachment versus text in the email?
The vast majority are PDFs attached.
Okay. But PDFs that are not handwritten, PDFs that are printed out of a system. So it's fairly easy to recognize the data off of the PDF, I would think.
They are, unless, someone wrote on it, expedite or rapid or cross something out. But yeah, for the most part, they come from a system.
Okay. Sorry, next slide then.
Next slide.
I'm going to pester you with questions. That's just my job here. I'm like a vampire that tries to suck the information out of you as much as possible.
So we said, as we're always asking in today, what else can we do with AI? And so we got this group together and we said, let's see if we can create a prompt that takes in one of these POs. So we grabbed a PO, made up an AI prompt, played with it for a while, wanted it to create a JSON file and send that JSON file to our public API. 30 minutes later, we had one that worked. We were super excited.
Later. Wow, that's crazy. What was the LLM that you reached for first?
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. Okay.
So we were just really basic. And so then when I went to put this story together, we went back and asked the team what they thought, the folks that were there, what they thought. So go to the next slide. So this is kind of the first change. When you think about what you were talking, Tim, Friday afternoon fun, but here's apparently what was going through their heads, which I didn't know at the time, but could this work? All the things.
Go ahead and read them all, because I also do this as an audio only. It'll hit in the podcast app. So yeah, for those without video, go ahead and read through these.
Yeah. One says, I didn't think AI could handle the chaos our customers send us. Another, I wanted to be open-minded, but honestly, I didn't know what to expect. My worry was simple. Even if it worked once, could it work every day? Another one said, are we allowed to do this way? I just kept thinking of all the ways this could break. And I didn't want to fix. I wanted to see what was possible. So coming back, I was actually surprised how even within the IT team, playing with new technology, how skeptical we were.
Interesting. So, and how many people? This is in a room.
Friday
afternoon. 4 people?
4 people.
Okay. Interesting. So it's just IT. This was just an IT thing.
Just IT.
All right. Okay. Yeah, you said that. You didn't want to bother the rest of the business with it yet. So these are quotes, just from the IT team. Interesting. Huh.
So you can go to the next slide, because this was a little bit about changing how we do work. The second piece about what we were trying to do, which was unique, is we weren't trying to make it work 100% of the time. All we wanted to do was see if we could make these front end folks more productive.
Love that.
And so if you think about typical development, this isn't usually the case looking back. Usually you have to have whatever brings in, make it work for everything. Get all those edge cases, code all those what ifs. That was not the case here. And we actually had to come back and remind each other this at times, was we just want to make it better. So if it doesn't work for all of them, we don't care. I'm not going to go after that one weird case. And we also were always going to keep a human in the loop to review the sales order. We were not going after no touch.
Love that. It's too big of a mountain to climb if you try to go after no touch, right? Yeah, no, yep. I love that.
Not at this
also
point.
I've found that so much, even in ERP implementations, where to me, it's the 80-20 rule. Like whenever people are throwing stuff at you, I feel like most of what they're throwing at you is just resistance. It's emotional resistance to a new thing. And my question is always, are we in the 80% or are we in the 20%? It's the 80-20 rule. And it's the 20% of the things that people do that takes up 80% of their time. And all I'm looking to do on the first pass of an ERP system is hit the 80%. And it looks like you're kind of doing a similar thing here. I love that. And in your case, I like that you're not even saying 80%. You're just saying, let's just make it better. And I love that. That's so cool.
And so success was going to be just better. So we can go to the next slide. And I'll talk about exactly what we did. So traditional is the blue and the green. So the emails come in on the left side, they become a case. The order management team takes that case, opens up the email, moves it forward into a sales order, and then attaches the graphics file, and it moves on to the graphics team to review that portion. The orangish color at the bottom is the tool that the team created. So we extracted the cases out, we connected them, got that PO PDF file, put it through a prompt, and essentially created a sales order back in. Now, the interesting part here is when we first started, we'd put 10 POs through, we might get 7 that would work. So we were at the 70% rule. And then we thought we'd look at the other 3 initially, and we said, we got this. We can make that, we can get to 80 or 90. And so we'd expand that prompt that we had. And the first time we did it, we expanded that prompt and we got 5. We're like, we're headed in the wrong direction.
Interesting.
And so we thought, but let's look at this a little better. And so we expanded, added more information to the prompt, more instructions, maybe handled a little closer to an edge case. And did you know, Tim, we got down to 3 out of 10. We eventually tweaked our prompt all the way to 0.
So that means it was getting worse the whole time?
It was getting worse. Every time we thought we were adding an enhancement, it was only getting worse.
Interesting.
So then we sat down as a group and we did, okay, what's going on here? And when we stepped back and looked at it, we had gone from a simple prompt to a very large prompt that was trying to handle edge cases, that was doing kind of what we didn't want it to do. And within it, we were also giving it what I'll call deterministic instructions. And so when we stepped back and we divided it up and we said, let AI do the AI predictive, try and read the PO. But in our case, like an example is our SKUs, we have 4 characters for our color in our SKUs. So black, if you send something in and you want black and your PO says black, BLACK, in order to get that SKU in our sales order, we need to translate it to BLAC. You only get 4 characters. Well, asking AI to do that is really not the best use of AI because it's just A equals B. It's going to be the same every time. Once we separated that and just put a script around it, so find the SKU, put the script around the table, and then create your sales order. Once you divided AI from deterministic, we were back at 7 out of 10.
All right, so I gotta go geek you right about here. Did that wind up being a regular expression in a script? Do you know?
Tyson?
Well, actually, when it comes to how we're handling our SKUs and finishing codes and variants, we actually do a little something different where back when you're at the stage you're talking about right now, and like you said, everything was in one big prompt. We were trying to get the chat agent to give us all that information, running into problems. So what we ended up doing in order to give us back an order object that was valid that we could send to Acumatica was really break it down and, like you said, give us the information from the PDF. And then we have it try to give us, we give it the schema, say this is what we want you to give us back. And then after we get that and validate, then we'll go back and say, okay, we got the SKU back from the agent, and we check our product database and say, okay, does this SKU require a variant or a finishing type? Then if it does, then we will, rather than using a chat agent, we send it to a chat assistant within Azure, and we send it even more specific instructions to say, okay, look at the text that we got out of the PDF, compare it to this list of valid finishing types or variant codes, give us back what you find. And that's how we drill down to that specific part of the SKU.
So it's another AI. You called it like an AI chat assistant. It's another piece of AI intelligence, or is it really like very rigid, regular expression scripting type of logic?
No, it's another AI. It's an AI assistant.
So it's sort of a master AI with sub AIs. And
Yeah,
I'm
we're using
learning
three different types of AIs in this whole project.
Yeah, I'm totally drinking from the fire hose and trying to learn how people are doing things. But I've definitely learned this concept of having tools that the AI will call. And essentially, I hadn't thought about you could have another AI, like a dumber AI. You've got this super smart, very general natural language, kind of an AI. But then you can have, would you call it like a not as intelligent, because it doesn't need to be AI, that's just handling the match between the fuzzy number off the PDF and your list of part numbers. It's something like that.
Something like that. I think like the difference between the regular chat agent that we use to extract the order JSON out of the PDF text, I don't think it's any less intelligent than the assistants that we use. The whole idea with the assistants is that the conversations are stateful. You have a history, so theoretically over time it'll get smarter. And there's other things you can do with assistants too that we could look at in the future, is doing passing in files to do reg type things. So that's where assistants come in, and yeah.
So what do you call the big one versus the assistant? What was the main one?
So the chat agent?
The chat agent, and then there's the assistant chat agent. Okay. And the assistant sort of has a machine learning component to it where it's going to remember that you liked it to map this text to this part number. And so next time it sees this text, it's going to get smarter because it knows how to handle that. Is that what you mean by having
in theory, yeah.
In theory, yeah. I'm totally in the realm of theory here. Interesting. Okay. Very cool.
But then, Tyson, why don't you tell the story of how we got from there to Azure Document Intelligence?
Oh, wait. Before you do that, I had one other thing. What this really sounds like a lot to me is my much more basic experience with just trying to do image generation. So when you ask the AI to create me an image with blah, 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 it does a cool job at the initial pass. But so far, at least in my experience, it is terrible at changes. Like if I just ask it to change this word to another word, it's awful at it. And it sounds like your experience is kind of similar in that the more you're trying to wrangle the AI and put rules around it, the worse it does. So that, anyways, I heard that in that initial explanation.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Simpler the better. We found out in the long run.
So sorry, go ahead with the next piece.
So the next piece is then we came across this Azure Document Intelligence tool. So I'm going to let Tyson talk about this. Essentially, we redid this design again with this tool. So within about 2.5 months, we had 3 different designs.
Yeah, so what we were doing in the beginning was just using a .NET NuGet package to read the PDF and taking that output and sending it to the chat agent. But then we discovered that there was this thing called Document Intelligence within Azure. Thought, hey, it sounds like something that would potentially help us here. And there's a lot of different models for it. Like one that we use, it's designed around reading invoices. So it's not a direct one-to-one match to our purchase orders, but it's pretty close and ends up being close enough. So we ended up, instead of using that NuGet package, we would send the PDF to Azure Document Intelligence, and Document Intelligence gives you a lot of information that you can use to pinpoint information within the PDF, which is important for us, going back to the fact that we don't have a template that everybody sends in. It's not the same purchase order from customer to customer. So it really gives us that ability to dig into like finding headers within the PDF, and then, okay, that header correlates to the information below it, as opposed to like just using the PDF reader software or NuGet package. You just get a blob of text, and then you're sending that blob of text to the chat agent, and the chat agent really doesn't have any frame of reference to really how the PDF was set up. So it's just matching keywords that are in the vicinity of each other. When you're thinking of a big paragraph of just lines of text. So Document Intelligence gave us that more concise information. It also would give us back the data in like page format. If the purchase order had 2 or 3 pages, you would actually know, like, you're looking at data from page 1, page 2, and it was just in a better format. We would get the data back from Document Intelligence in a better format than we were getting from the NuGet package. So
what
I think
format was it? Like an XML format, or what is it? Yeah,
just text.
Okay,
Just a block, just a block
but
of
you
text.
said somehow like you would get an
okay, you talking Document Intelligence?
Yeah, on the Document Intelligence, yeah.
So it returns back an object that contains, like, there's parts that give you information about the pages, parts that like if it found a table within the PDF, it'll give you back a table object, so you can read that like an Excel spreadsheet kind of. And I'm drawing a blank on some of the other pieces of it, but it's kind of long and short is really it. You get that big object, and then
so it's like a programming object. It's not a JSON file or an XML file. It's like some kind of thing you use in code.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you were to make the API call to the Document Intelligence endpoint, you're going to be getting it back as JSON. But within our .NET 8 application, we're using Azure's NuGet packages to interact with Azure and Document Intelligence. So yeah, we get back that object.
So the end result, like the thing you invested in, was a .NET piece of code that runs somewhere.
Yeah, it's we have the one main service that we created as part of this effort, and we have 2 others in between.
Got it. Okay.
So at the end, by the time we got to this third design, Tim, 97% of the cases that we review through PO Processor create sales orders, and we get about 70% of the SKUs correct. So that end human in the loop just does a quick review.
I want to expound on that. I mean, Document Intelligence played a huge role in that jump, but at the same time, it also took a little bit of another shift in thinking. We had to go from trying to have AI doing everything. I know you already talked about that, but I think a really key thing that got us to that 97% was just having guardrails in place within our code to make sure that whether it was the AI agent or the assistant or Document Intelligence, what it was passing back to us was actually useful for us to create an order, and just putting steps in to validate what we got back. And if we are missing something or we get something that we know is not valid, then we go back, we make another call to one of the assistants until either we get something valid, or worst case scenario, we build an Acumatica order object, for all intents and purposes, kind of like a default one, not strictly default, but enough information so that we can link it to the case, and then order management can go from there. So ideally, in a worst case scenario, at our process at least created an order in Acumatica. Ideally, it has everything, contacts and SKUs and all that good stuff that you get out of the purchase order. But we put a lot of checks in place to make sure it does something at least. And if it doesn't do something, if it runs into problems, then order management knows that based on a work group. And so that they know, okay, it ran through the process.
Oh, interesting. I like the work group idea. Yeah.
Yes. So then they can see, okay, that one failed. All right, we have to go in and take a look at the PO ourselves. But
and the defaults that you put in, you probably have like a default dummy item that's like needs to be changed or something like that. Like you wouldn't default in a real item number. It'd be something that is a problem.
No, we found in this process that, and I don't think we knew this before this project, that we could actually create an Acumatica order without an order item. Our system wasn't set up to do that. We were always expecting one because why wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
But we tried it out, and it's like, yeah, you can create an order without an item. It's possible.
So your default is just empty, just no item.
Yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, you get an order that gets linked to the actual case, and we'll have the customer ID because that'll come out of the case. Any information we can take out of the case will get passed along to the order. So, yeah, something.
It's kind of back to that. As long as we could take some steps out, let's take them out. And then in this process, we always had one of the managers within order management working through the iterations with us. Like this would be helpful, this would not. And so some of this was at least as long as we can stay and keep the tool being useful, make the changes, and know that it was better to create a sales order than just drop the whole thing. We were working directly with them to help us through that.
I think it's also interesting that you knew your numbers, like you knew the 97%. Is that because you're logging it? Like you log to know what percentage comes through. You keep some kind of record in the code so it knows what percentage of orders went through without issues and which ones didn't.
Yeah, within the process, we definitely put a lot of logging in there partially for that purpose, so that we could go back and see if we ran 100 cases through our process, how many actually got successfully processed, and then maybe a little bit of manual data collection to say like, okay, now you have all these orders that were created by the process, but now you have to make sure that, okay, was there actually a order item added to it?
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of get a grasp of, okay, yeah, all right, we got 97% order creation, and then I think Ann said, 70% kind of complete.
Yeah, that caught my attention too. You know it at multiple levels, both the document as a whole and at the item level. I like that.
That was important. And you can talk to this, Ann, more than I can, I think. But as far as getting the order management team on board with using this, we really needed those numbers because there was a bit of pushback at first, I'd say.
Yeah, I love that. You got to know up front, like you got to establish that up front to be able to measure it, because you don't know if it's getting better. You can't just trust people to say, I think it's getting better, right? You want to have the data to say that it's getting better or not.
Yeah. In fact, you can go to the next slide.
Oh, can I ask before on the next slide?
Yeah, we can stay here. Yeah.
Your first thing I was missing is, all right, I got that step one was, the AI, try and do it all in one AI. Then you kind of broke it out and that was better. But then you said like state 3 was involving the Azure Document Intelligence. Yep. What was state 2 in the middle? I missed that part.
Just taking it apart. Just going from the one big blob.
From the one big AI to multiple AIs of the agent. And then the third one was adding in the Azure Document Intelligence. Yep. Okay. Which sort of acts like just another agent, right? It's just another thing in the process that the main AI calls.
Yeah, very AI agent with a very specific job.
Yeah. Okay.
It just reads table better. You know, if you think about POs, it has lines on it and stuff. And
Actually, I just pulled one up. I
just,
did a quick Google search. Yeah. Here's an example, right? Yeah.
right.
It's header level stuff. It's line level stuff. It's knowing that the address is multiple lines, so that text is related to each other. Yeah, objects, I think, Tyson, is how you described it.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's got columns in it. How do you read the columns? Then it's got totals that relate, you know.
And being able to know that, like on your screenshot here, company name relates to vendor as opposed to your company relates to ship to.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Document Intelligence really helped us be more accurate.
And I think this is a classic. I mean, doing anything in computers for decades, this is not a new thing. Like, you always have to decide when I'm going to rely on someone else's library, whether it's an open source thing or something I'm a SaaS service that I'm paying for. In this case, it's the latter. But when you're going to do that versus do it yourself, and there's pros and cons to both. And I think the pro of the Azure Document Intelligence, we've already nailed, right? It can do a lot of this stuff out of the box, so you don't have to architect all of that. But is there a con as well, in the sense that how often does the Azure Document Intelligence change? Or do you get to lock yourself in on a certain version? Because I guess my con approach to this would be, I might throw this same document at the Azure Document Intelligence a year from now, and it might give me back something different, and it potentially could be worse. Like, how do you handle that piece?
Well, let me say that scenario you just talked about, we ran into, whether it was the same agent or a different version of an agent. I mean, that was one of the bigger challenges at first. Was you send the document one time, you get back X, send it again, you get back Y.
Right.
So, but just wanted to mention that. But to your point, so we've been live with this for what, 7 months, Ann?
Since end of September timeframe.
And had worked on it a bit before then. We haven't had to touch anything as far as doing any updates to Document Intelligence. So I think what you said about being locked into a version and pretty much applies. I mean, you have the option to like change the GPT version you're pointed at, or things like that. But also in that same vein, I mean, we were just looking at a potential improvement to this is, 7 months ago, Document Intelligence was pretty new. And now there's even something that's supposed to be better within Azure. I forget what it's called, but yeah, things change, but I don't think we haven't seen it change without our knowledge and, to where it's causing us problems.
Okay. And 7 months is pretty good. Yeah, it's inevitable something will break at some point, right? And so you just have to have that awareness. But I also love that you spun up your initial idea in 30 minutes, right? And I think it was it 2 months end to end between like landing on step 3, you said, right? And so I think part of it's just like, it's just a total mind shift and a scary one, in that, at least for me, I'm used to thinking, look, we're going to build this, we're going to get it working for the business, and it's just going to run for years and years and years. Yeah. And when you're in this AI world, it's just not that way. AI is going to get you going faster, but it's also going to surprise you more often. And you just sort of have to be ready for that. Is that a good way of describing it?
Yep. It's definitely, you think about things different. Tyson also talked to, when we early on, someone had brought up Azure Document Intelligence, but its output, because it's more, it provides a more consistent output, but it's a broader output. It's more to deal with than what you just give to a prompt in ChatGPT. So it took a little bit more effort, I guess.
More learning on your side. Like, you're just constantly having to be learning stuff, right? Which is uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's my job.
So it's not different. Okay, interesting. Does it feel different, Tyson? Like versus programming, let's say 5 years ago, where like you know a language, and you sit down, you write the code, you know how it's going to behave. how different was that 5 years ago to now, where you're constantly just sort of like experimenting with things to see how it behaves? Or does it feel the same to you, like more at like even an emotional level, or how often you're thinking about things at night or on the weekend? Like, is it more stressful? How has it impacted you?
Trying not to think about it at night on the weekend. It's certainly changed. There's no doubt about that. I don't think it's necessarily changed how I think of or feel about the programming languages or whatever that I deal with. It's just a mindset shift and a kind of a process shift of how you go about solving problems. And I think, like, before my days as a dev, you had books. Then when I started in this field, you had Google, you had Stack Overflow, you had MSDN, whatever it is you use to research what you're working on. But now with AI, with ChatGPT, Claude, whatever, you talk to it like you have another developer right in front of you.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I've heard this said a lot. You treat it like a junior dev.
Yes.
A junior dev with a lot of knowledge, but not necessarily
book smart, not street smart, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so there's a lot of double checking and trying to keep AI honest. But it makes things different, and in most cases it speeds things up too. I mean, you can prototype something really faster than I can do it myself, or even if it's not faster than I can do it myself, I can be doing other things while AI is doing that. So it overall, it is a increase in productivity with that. Not always, because with the babysitting and the double checking and going down rabbit holes that AI sends you down, sometimes you end up wasting a little time. But
overall, it's better. And also overall, it sounds like it doesn't feel too crazy, mind-blowing, overwhelming. Like you're like, yeah, it's just another iteration of change that we've always been experiencing.
It's more or less, I would say. I mean, it's way different than anything else that's come before in my career, but it's not driving me crazy yet.
Yeah, good. No, I guess that's what I was getting at. Yeah, is it driving you crazy? I'm also curious, before we get back to the slides, like from a developer's perspective, this is one thing I've been curious about. I wonder how much this is really just a completely new thing versus being just another layer on the stack that we've already worked with for decades. And so here's my example. You've got, I think the lowest level is machine language. I might be botching this, but language that like just talks in zeros and ones to the hardware. Then above that, I think it's assembly language. And then above that, I think it's like programming languages that we've heard of, like C and C# and Python and stuff like that. Did I get that like basic 3 levels right?
Yeah, pretty much.
More or less. So what to me I'm wondering is like, is the AI layer just kind of a fourth layer where a lot of the times you're just having it write code that then just sits on top of the stack? Does it feel more like a fourth layer, or does it feel like a complete removal of everything and now we just have this big thing called AI?
I'm sorry, I got to think about that for a second.
Yeah, think about it.
I will say, whether it's a layer or not, because it changes the paradigm on speed and on research, that to your point, Tim, so we've put this in 7 months later, it's still the same. If we had to rewrite this in 2 months because there were 3 new tools or something, the effort to do that is so short. Rewriting makes sense. Instead of
from scratch versus modify,
or what we used to do is, we used to take 6 months to write a tool and expect it, I think, as you said, to last for years.
Yeah.
Now that whole paradigm has shifted. Let's take a month or 2 to write a tool. And if it lasts 10 months or a year, great.
But yeah, the impact on the human brain is like a nuclear bomb. Although
Yeah.
Tyson's handling it better than I am. But what I'm wondering is the impact on like the tech stack, because I don't think the answer is we just send everything off to LLMs and we burn tokens. Like, we're going to kill the planet if we do that. I think when I say layer, it just seems like there's another layer, but you're still essentially having the AI just generate something that still lives in the same stack we've been dealing with CPUs and RAMs and you know, in this case, it's a .NET application. I think that's what's going on, because I think people who take the route of, all right, there's just this brand new world of AI and we do everything AI related. And I think this is what's happening with Claude Cowork. I think people are already discovering this. They're like, oh, cool, I can automate my web browser. And they have the LLM do everything, kind of essentially replace the stack. And they burn through their tokens so fast. And now Claude's like having trouble keeping up with the demand. I don't think that's where we wind up landing. I think it winds up being more of a layer. But yeah, I don't know if that's too philosophical. What do you guys think?
I would agree with you. And I feel like it's, you know, like I was talking about earlier with, we went from Google to ChatGPT, Claude's type stuff. So it's a replacement for that. And then you get the bonus part of it actually writing you code. But yeah, it doesn't replace any part of the original stack. It kind of augments it, enhances it to a degree. And it just, you know, it's Wild West. You have to really, you got to be careful. You can't just go hog wild and say, you know, throw AI and everything and hope for the best. It's you got to make sure it's working for you.
Yeah, it's got to make sense. Yeah. I sort of, an analogy I've been thinking of is kind of the difference between traditional SQL structured databases and then when the NoSQL like blob storage came out. And when that happened, like all the young kids are like, oh, this now, it's like the NoSQL crowd versus all those old timer SQL crowd. But then the way it's played out is people realize, well, now we have this concept more of a data lake where it's a combination of structured data and unstructured data. So the old, and to me, it's a similar thing going on here where we're not just throwing out the stack. We're realizing, you know, where the AI is good and where it's not, just like with databases where there's still reasons to store your ERP data, for example, in good old fashioned structured databases. It performs better than blobby NoSQL stuff. But if it's a document, a video, etc., we store it in the NoSQL format. And if you're young and naive, you think this AI stuff just throws everything out, right? But I'm just not sure. And we're all learning, right? Wild West, like you said, but I'm not sold on that. I think needing to be aware of the rest of the stack and how it all relates together, I think is still going to be important going forward, but we'll see, right? We'll see.
When the foundation doesn't change, I think people need to be grounded in the foundation. It helps you do more of the creative stuff. Otherwise, like you said, you're just all over the board and you don't understand.
On the token side, do you have a ballpark idea of what the spend has been over the last 7 months to process all this stuff? Purely token, like purely LLM AI cost, you know, versus rest of the infrastructure.
Do you have it, Ann?
I do not, but I want to.
I have the cost, like the actual dollar cost.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, dollar cost.
The dollar cost. It's hundreds.
Can I say that, Ann?
It's hundreds over.
Hundreds of dollars over 7 months?
No. Well, it's, so I'm looking at Azure right now, our cost management. And
if you look at it over a month or a week, is it hundreds or thousands?
Hundreds. So
hundreds.
A month, but like less than 1,000 a month.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah. Closer to 500.
Maybe I'll flip back to the slides and maybe, Ann, this is the next. Should I go to the next slide? Because
you can go to the next one. I mean, this is.
So I'm curious then, like what impact has that had on the department? Do you still remain the same number of people working there?
No.
So even if you reduce the headcount by 1, you're now spending hundreds a month. I don't know any employees in the US at least who work for hundreds a month. That's pretty significant savings there.
Yeah. So So this is just kind of this slide reiterates what we talked about. We didn't take the human out. We just added assistants. And it did, in the fall, we were able to move 6 roles onto other places.
So you didn't fire them. You moved them around in the business.
We did the best we could to find them new roles. Yep.
You did the best you could. I love that point because I think a lot of people are saying this. I don't think AI is replacing jobs, but I think people who are willing to use AI are replacing people who are not willing to use AI. In the sense that, have you found that to be the case in your business?
Yes, I think people who are nervous about it replacing their jobs, the best thing to do is dig in and figure out how you can use it to keep your job and grow your value.
And do it in a creative, fun way, back to the Friday afternoon kind of almost hobby way of looking at it rather than work way of looking at it.
Just try,
Experiment.
Experiment. It's kind of a low risk. So the other thing we ran into, and I'll just go here for a minute, Tim, is we were able to do this so quickly, even though we had the manager from the order management team. I think Tyson brought it up a little. When we were ready to roll out and we had these great stats, they were not as ready as we were to accept it. We had moved so fast. We're changing people. We thought, I think you can go to the next slide. We thought what we were doing was we're just giving you a better way to do things. We're just delivering you. This will expedite your PO creation process. You can deliver better customer service faster. At the end of the day, what we were really doing was disrupting their whole world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
the left side is what you were thinking. The right side, you can read those out. That's what they were thinking.
What they were really experiencing was a disruption. They were experiencing, we're not ready to roll this out. We need to pilot. And so that was hard for us, who was so excited with what we had just created. And so it took us a little bit, some number of discussions, but because, everybody wants AI, what can we make it do? And yet here we were running into this adoption roadblock. But once we got to the point where we said, okay, let's do 50 a day. Let's build your trust. Let's build your confidence.
Yeah.
We wanted to do all at once, but we agreed to 50 a day, 50 the next day, then another 100. And then eventually we got to the point where, sure enough, not only were they like, yep, we have confidence this works, let's keep going. Then they started asking for enhancements.
Love that.
All of a sudden they're all on board. So the interesting thing is what AI got us was this tool, but it's also changed how we do work. So now IT, if you remember the very first slide, I talked about IT being fixers.
Let's come back to that.
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah. So the team was viewed as fixers. Now we're definitely on the road to being more strategic partners as an IT organization.
Yeah.
People are asking us, well, how could we do this? And even the solutions aren't AI, but just the whole fact that they're coming and asking, we're able to iterate quicker with them. We're able to sit down. Let's try it. Let's experiment together. And so
it's sort of like it used to be the business leads, and then they're just like, come on, AI, catch up, or they're throwing things at you. And now a little more where you're kind of walking along together.
100%. So that's kind of the end of the last slide. I think talks about not only was this a big technology change. Oh, go one more. Oh no, this is the last one.
What was this one? Let's see.
This was
the fixers one. Sorry. So some fixers. Okay.
Yep. So you can go back to that last one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So really all of this, the last statement, this adoption has to happen together is what we learned. So very much, we started just 4 of us on a Friday afternoon, but we involved the business along the way. We thought we were doing great. We weren't involving them enough, probably as we should have. That's one of our learnings, but I am super excited as to where the IT department is now and all the things that are ahead of, what else can we do?
That's super fun. I'm curious, going back to the point about the disruption side of it. So I did this as a prior episode on this podcast, linking together, just from my own personal experience, linking together the experience of grieving in your personal life with any type of disruption on the business. Mm-hmm. And ever since I've done that, like, I see it more and more in places, and I think I see it here as well, that there's a very similar thing that goes on human wise when you lose a loved one versus when you have to change your process at work. It's a similar curve that goes on because it's scary. There's even an element of grieving that goes on with losing like your familiar process and your familiar way, right?
And so sometimes
you have to, people call it change management, but in the same way that like grieving is not really, it's so chaotic. It's not like something you manage. In the same way, I think as the IT department, you sort of start to play the role of a therapist in the organization to just like everyone deals with it differently. And so you just kind of have to be patient and help them get through that. Does that resonate with you at all?
It definitely does. I think particularly the recognition that it takes time. Yeah. This AI is so fast, but it's still changing what humans are doing and how we're working. And so it will take time. And once we just slowed down and said, okay, take the time to gain the trust, the confidence, the new world, the new experience, however you want to describe it, grieving what you can no longer have to do.
Right.
Then they were on board. They got on board. It's definitely a tool. We get calls, if it burps for some reason, they're called immediately. There's a lot of dependence on it now, but not so much at the start.
What cadence worked well for you? Because if you just say, hey, take all the time you need, you might not hear from someone in a month. Did you set some sort of like, hey, let's talk back in a week. Let's talk back in a couple of days. What was your cadence?
It was, I think we did 50 for the first week, and then they went to 100 for the next week. And so we tried to like double. I think by 3 weeks we were there for the most part. Okay. It's accelerated a little bit since, but I would say 3 weeks.
And it's not a formula. I was just curious what worked for you. Yeah. And it could depend on the project, could depend on the team. Yeah, it all depends. Interesting.
And were you meeting with the order management team? Was it like once or twice a week or something like that?
Yep. And we had because we were trying to figure out, because, initially I wanted 3 days. Like, let's just go. It's here.
Yeah.
And so, we were sharing what the metrics were every day. We were talking about it as the leadership level. Here's an opportunity within AI. Are we all supportive of AI? We were trying to go at it a number of different ways. But I think at the end, it was just really time. We needed to not quite go so fast.
Quick time check. Are you all able to go over a few minutes, or do you have something on top of the hour?
No, I'm good.
A little bit. I'm just curious, now that you've kind of got that good AI win under your belt, you're way ahead, I think, of most companies. When you look at like these Gartner surveys and stuff, they'll give these really high percentages of companies that are using AI. I'm skeptical. I think if they are, like, it's using it to manage your email or something like that, not truly disrupt a company process. I could be wrong, but I feel like you're probably ahead of most on such a big win. Now that you have that, like, how are you? It's probably not different than before, but how are you structuring, what our roadmap in a sense looks like, what else we want to do and how we prioritize? Is that any different than what you would do with any other project, or how are you doing that?
So I'll give two perspectives. At a company level, we did not like hire an AI officer and come in and say, what are we doing in this space? This was literally more of a grounds up. Mm-hmm. But what we've done since is we have an AI task force. We asked who wanted to be on it, who thought this was fun and interested. And within that, we have 3 pillars. One is around workflow. That's mostly IT. One is around data and analytics, which is actually led out of our finance organization. And then there's all that AI is doing in marketing and graphics and imaging.
Like production in a sense.
Yeah. And some in production.
Okay.
But and so for us, we kind of have these 3 teams, and it's just about getting together, sharing. What are you trying to do? And is AI going to be part of that or not? And so particularly in the data and analytics, the finance more orientated group, a lot of what they talk about is not, AI is not the answer. It's
Yes,
just,
right.
it's reporting, but
Right.
it is driving those conversations,
Interesting.
those think out of the box conversations,
Yes,
those, what if
yes.
we do it different conversations? What if we come at it from a whole different way? And so while AI may not be the answer, it may help with some research. It may help organize ideas, generate ideas. It's moving it along, but it's really not a
Love
piece of
that. It's the catalyst for the conversation, whether or not it's
it.
part of the end result or not. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So is it like it's an AI task force with like 3 subcommittees in 3 different
Yep.
areas? Okay.
Yep. And then within IT, it's just a little bit more of how do we stay on top of it? What do you find?
Mm-hmm.
How do we learn?
And keep an element of fun. You got to keep an element of fun in there, right?
You do, because this
Yeah.
is about failing fast and being okay with that and trying
Yeah.
this. And,
I love
someone
that.
the other day said, how can we reduce all these clicks? And we go, we'll take a video of it and we'll feed that video to Claude. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep.
See where it
Yep.
goes from there. I don't know.
Yeah. See what happens. Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. I really like the fun point because I listened to a podcast episode between 2 CEOs, one of Zapier and one of some other tech company.
Mhm.
And I love the story that the other one told. He really nailed in on that fun part. 1, this happened on a weekend. And 2, what sold him on AI had nothing to do with work. He took
Yeah.
a picture of a steak he was about to cook for some friends and asked it, if it had a recommendation on a recipe. And what blew his mind was that when it came back, it noticed that he had an electric stove. It noticed that he was going to cook it in a whatever kind of skillet it was. So it not only noticed the steak that he was focused on, it noticed the context that it was in. And he had a way to validate it because he followed the recipe and everyone said it was the best steak they'd ever had. That's what sold him on AI. So then he brought it into the work, right? And so that element of fun, that element of Friday afternoon, whatever, I think it's so important to keep that going, keep that element going, right? Otherwise, you never discover new areas.
Yeah. In fact, as a department, we had a little, I don't know, lunch and learn where everybody had to present 2 slides, 3 minutes on AI, just to get people a little bit more engaged. And I don't know, Tyson, if you can recall, but there was no restrictions on topic. AI was the only topic. So we had everything.
Personal stuff, not just work stuff.
Someone went back in and said, when did AI work in movies? And went back into the 60s and the 70s talking cars and, sci-fi stuff. And yes, people took it all different directions.
I love roundtable conversations. So, and I'm always curious of structure. So it sounds like everyone got 2 minutes?
3 minutes, 2 slides.
It was 3 minutes. Oh, fascinating. That as a geeky person, I've looked at this from multiple angles and landed on 3 minutes as well for any type of roundtable thing. So everyone got 3 minutes, and then how long did you go for total? An hour?
There was 20 of us, so yeah, an hour.
So yeah, an hour. Fascinating. That's exactly the format I've been wanting to just try over and over again. Cool. What about one other question? I hope one other question. Did you come up? I've heard companies talking about coming up with an AI usage policy. Did you come up with anything like that in the organization?
We did. We do have a policy that we wrote. I think they go in and out of date, and it probably needs to be updated. I think ours is a year old. But
a simple 1 page, how complicated is it?
Simple 1 page.
Okay. And what are some of the things you hit in there? Here's the tools you're allowed to use for now. Please ask IT about other ones. Would you address things like that or what?
We did not get that specific. We talked mostly about privacy and proprietary stuff and keeping that out.
Not sending that to an LLM, essentially.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, it's just what do you send to an LLM versus what needs to stay in-house?
Yeah.
Okay. It's more of like a data policy just applied to AI than really a new thing with AI.
Yeah. We did not go as far to say every tool has to be approved by IT. We don't have the bandwidth to
Yeah.
do
No,
that.
I agree. And you're just going to get people to hate you and they're going to ignore it anyways. Yeah. You just sort of have to lean in the adoption direction right now where we're at least with things. Makes sense.
That, and then for us, have these teams that keep talking about it because,
Yeah.
if somebody ends up someplace scary, then let's share it, and
Yeah.
it's also new.
Love it. Well, again, I feel like you're ahead of most. I don't have stats on that, but that's my guess. And
Thanks.
really appreciate you coming on and sharing that story. That's really fascinating.
Well, thank you. It's fun
Any
to
other
share.
things either one of you want to get in there before we wrap it up?
I just wanted to say one thing talking about this, your last comment, you're talking about policies and whatnot. I mean, it's just for me personally, I know I am doing everything I can to make sure I never send anything sensitive to anything, which kind of goes without saying. But the reason why I bring it up is something I'm working on right now, just kind of a side project, is, giving or using AI to access our whole repository library and use that to do all sorts of things. I mean, initially, I'm just trying to
Code
maybe build
repository? Code,
So
okay.
like, yeah. Which so we use Bitbucket and they have something called Rovo, which, I think we're looking into using, but I'm just trying to work ahead a little bit and just use AI to generate some documentation, because we have a ton of applications that need to be upgraded. And one of the challenges with that is testing those changes after we make the upgrade and get it into our QA environment. So that's kind of my goal here. And how this ties back into privacy is like, I am doing everything on my laptop. I'm not sending any of my data, no prompts, nothing. It's not going to Azure. It's not going to Claude, ChatGPT. It's all using something called, I don't know if it's pronounced Oyama or Olama. It's basically just an LLM manager, and you can get out whatever LLM, whatever models you want on there, and then hook that up to like an IDE or something, just so you can chat with it and get it to give you outputs. So I just want to bring that up. It's kind of interesting, and I know the privacy and security part of it is scary. It's I'm often worried about. Okay, I just pasted something into that chat in the Claude. I got to go back and check. Is there anything in there I don't want to be in there?
Yeah.
And we have to worry about that less with Azure, because in theory we have there's settings you can turn on to tell them not to use your data for training or whatever. But it's always scary putting something that's even potentially sensitive, throwing it out into the cloud somewhere. You never know when that's going to get exposed. So it's a big consideration, and it's going to be evolving, I'm sure.
So all you young 20-somethings, just keep that in mind. Legal still matters. Data policy still matter. It's not all just about the fun AI. Keep the fun element, but also be aware of the other stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to be responsible for a data breach.
Right. I'm with you. Well, hey, thanks again to both of you. And looks like we actually had a couple of comments in here. I missed these earlier. So Ralph's viewing it as a way to free up time to get things we never had time to get to. Love that. Yeah, don't just try to improve current processes, but look at it as a way to, it kind of goes to the employee comment also, right?
Yep.
Instead of looking at it as a way to replace people, people will get freed up to do things you never had time to do. And Pete's been into this stuff too. Pete's building I think Pete, if I remember right, building an MCP server for Acumatica, like his own, and there's pros and cons to doing that. Acumatica supposedly will come out with one in 2026 R2. But just fun to kind of all learn together and compare notes, just like you're doing internally, do it across companies as well. And that's something I aim to do here on the podcast. So
Awesome.
Well, thanks again. I'll let you guys go and appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank you.